morning, friends. So my next project is Simplicity 9189, and it's going to be view A because that's my favorite because it's the longest in the bodice and it has long sleeves. But here's the thing, I did not have the exact cut of fabric. I didn't have the right amount of fabric. So I cut out view C, and I was prepared to make view C, which means there's no sleeves. But after I cut everything out, I was able to squeeze out the 3/4 length sleeve. But then I had some leftovers. So here's my pile of leftovers. And from the leftovers, I was able to actually cut out some fabric to extend the sleeve because I don't think the seam will stand out too much. And even if it does, nobody knows. Who's going to know? No one's going to know. The first thing that is going to go in, we're looking at the actual instructions, is adding interfacing to the insides of pieces 1. And that's the front neck edge, and then piece 2 right here, that is the back neck edge. So I'm going to go ahead and add interfacing to those pieces, and then I am going to stay stitch to reinforce that area there. So I'm going to go ahead and stay stitch 3/8 of an inch from the edge. And then I'm going to add interfacing to where the buttonhole is going to go. And then on the other side, well, on both sides, going to create this little pleat, which gives the sweater its personality. And then, so this is kind of like what it looks like on the inside. And on the outside, it's going to have this overlap. And that square you see right there, that is going to be the buttonhole. And then sew the fronts and the back together. And it's fairly simple project. So I'm going to go ahead and get my interfacing started. So the first thing I need to do is switch out my needle, because when you're working with knits, you need a ballpoint needle so that you don't snag your fabric. And so now I am going to reinforce this opening by sewing 3/8 of an inch away from the edge. I'm going all the way down to the corner, and then I'm going to turn it and then sew down the other end. Because we're going to have to cut in there eventually. So that's a reinforcement stitch. So I'm going to go ahead and do my other side, and we'll pick up from there. The interface for the buttonhole, and I'm going to grab my other machine, and I'm going to go ahead and create that buttonhole now while I'm here. Buttonhole is done. I haven't cut it open yet, so I'll do that in a little later. But I need to make the pleats for the right and the left side. So what I'm going to do is, these lines come together, so it's there, inside. They go inside, inside. And we're going to form the pleat. So it's not a what would this be called? It's not a dart. It's a pleat where these pieces, they come together like this. Let me get a pin. So I'm going to pin these together on the line there. Let me get, so bring my lines together and pin it, and then I'm taking the edge and I am going to flatten the edge like such, and then turn it over to take a look. It looks good. So I'm going to pin these down, take that pin out. So now I'm going to stitch on the edge here. I'm going to be right outside the seam allowance. I guess so the instructions say to stitch along the solid line, but I don't, there's no solid line on there. But I am going to, on the seam, just, let me get this flat. So you want to get this nice and flat. Make sure that it's, see how that came out? I don't want to do that. So I'm going to go ahead and pin this close. Please ignore. So I'm going to lay this at the seam allowance, and then I'm just going to go, I'm not going to go this far, but I just want to put it right inside of it. And set my stitch. I'm going to drop my needle. I'm going to backspace. I'm going to slowly stitch forward and backspace, not backspace, back stitch, and take that out. So now when you look at the front, there it is. And I got these extra stitches. Take these out because I don't need those. Okay, there it is. So one side is done, and I'll do the other, and I'll be right back. Okay, I decided to record this side, give you another way to do it as a newbie, because it can be a little frustrating if you're not sure if you're doing it right. So this is the inside. So I'm taking a pin and I'm going to like in and out over there, in and out along that line, and another straight pin. I'm just going to weave it in and out on that side. So now I'm going to bring those together. So I'm going to bring them together like that on the bottom, bring them together, and then I'm going to take another pin and just pin those together. So I can take these ones out. This is just to make sure that you're on a line. You want to make sure that these edges are straight here. So now I'm going to take this down because it's pinned right together. And again, I'm going to take the little hump and I'm going to push it down flat. So then I'm going to take another pin, slide it underneath my dusty fingernail polish, and another pin. So now I'm going to turn it over to take a look, and that's what you want it to look like, without, minus the waves. I just realized, and I did this before, that I putting the button and the buttonhole strap on the wrong side. But what's important is that wherever the buttonhole is, that's where the buttonhole strap should be. So even here in the instructions, you can see that this is the back where the buttonhole is, and then they're putting the buttonhole tape there on the side. So now that I have that set up, I'm going to go ahead and add, put my sides together and sew those, and then the shoulder. So when you look at this shoulder piece, you're only going to do from the corner up until that notch, which is right here. So I will be sewing from here all the way 5/8 of an inch into here. And then after that, well, you know what? I'll come back to the instructions. Okay, another thing that we have to do before you sew the shoulders is, so here's the shoulder part here. Here's that angle, is that we're going to stitch the top of. Stitch the top of this, so at 3/8 of an inch. I'm just going to run a stitch down the side. This is actually going to be the center back of the sweater. I'm a little further out than 3/8, but it'll work. So now I've marked where I'm going to stop stitching. I marked it on the back of the bodice, not the front. So I'm going to go ahead and stitch this. My thread is wrapped around my needle. That can cause problems, and we don't need no problems. Oh, you know what? I need to do a slight zigzag stitch. Okay, so now I'll stop. And I'm going to do the other side. So I was going to sew down the side, but I actually think I am going to put the sleeve in flat because that's my favorite way I like to do it. And I think I put the sleeve in flat on the first sweater that I made. Everything turned out a-okay. And so that way I don't have to worry about setting in the sleeves in a circle. That we can just go ahead and put the sleeve on here and then finish the whole side all at the same time. I have my sleeves pinned in. Now I'm going to carefully sew them. Some of my markings on the bodice just kind of like disappeared, but that's okay. So I just want to keep everything nice and smooth, have some tension on here. Now I need to get my hand under here. As soon as I find it, there we go. And I'm trying to grab the fabric. All right, so the sleeve is on, as you can see here, and I gave it a light press. And here is the front. So this is going to go all the way to the back. We'll get it there. We'll get it there. Right. I don't know if you can see it coming along. Let me back up a little bit. But look at those. Look at that. That would be nice with those with that nice waterfall going on right there. So this is the outside. It's picking up all kinds of string, thread, lint, all those things. So now when I open this up and I look at the back neck, So now when this is worn like this, then it has this back part. So this will be flowing down. This back part will be flipped, like flipped in the back like this. Part of here, here's the back part of here. And then now this part here gets stitched. And so now the only thing that I'm worried about is that I have this interfacing on, and it just doesn't make sense to me as to where I'm supposed to be at right now with this interfacing. But luckily I could pull it off if need be. So here is the inside, and then the back neck has to be sewn together this way so that the finished seam is actually on top, and then back here, so where you have the right side sewn together at the shoulders, the back of the flap is going to be the seam, where the seam opens. So when you have this open here, and I have it closed in my hand because I want to close it this way with the seam under, I'm going to hold this in my hand right here, and I'm going to go ahead and put a pin. I'm going to line up these corners here, and then I'm going to put a pin in here, and then I'm just going to take this, flip it, so that I know this is how I'm sewing this together. That could have been a problem. So now I'm going to match up my edges here. Grabbing my end here so I can hold this. Go. So now when you're looking at the sweater as it's on, you have this flat seam. So I'm going to have to get rid of all these thread, the thread here. I'm going to flatten this, and then what happens, okay, I now remember. So this all gets flattened. I'm going to clean this up, and then this gets flipped over, and then this gets sewn together like this. So you got to clip into the corners here. So I've already clipped into this corner here, and so I gotta clip that one, and I gotta clip this one, because whenever I put these together, I want the seam here to be flat. So I'm going to have to clip into the inside corner, and the inside corner clipping into here, and then also for the outside corner clipping into there. I am sewing the right side of this flap to the wrong side of the actual sweater. So I'm going to line up my notches here, and I'm going to put that in there to keep the seam open. And so I have, which part did I open up? Let me turn this back around. So this is the first side that I did. So I'm going to tuck, that's going to go into the inside. And then we have this here, Nice and flat. All right, so I'm gonna flatten starting at the end. Getting that lined up. Ooh, hear weird stuff going on. There we go. Uh-oh. What is going on here? Oh, my thread broke. Yep. So what I need to do on my pattern is to make note that I need to be very careful with the placement of the interfacing. Even though it's kind of on the wrong side, it shouldn't be here. It should actually be on this side. And then on the inside corner, I'm going to cut in. Here we go. Let's go. Let's go. I'm not getting it yet. There it goes right into there. And then on the outside corner, I'm going to put that. I just want to make sure I don't cut anything. So here's the outside corner. So I'm going to cut into there. Keep everything smooth. Here we go. Okay. So that's it. So I got to clean all this up here. And then the only thing left to do is I have to hem around everything, including the back flap and the sleeves. Okay, here is the final jacket. She is, let me back up so you can get a full view. She's looking lovely. Looks just like the other one I made almost, because it's the same kind of color, but the other one is like purple and white intermingled. I love this. I feel like I need this in every color. So think about this. If I was pressing this to this side, pressing it to this side, so down here, pressing it towards my hand, pressing it towards my hand. If I pressed it towards my hand, now the finished seam would be on this side instead of on this side. See how that's the whole circle. So you get to this part right here, and then you have to stop, and then you have to turn the hem the other way. So when you lay it out, the bottom part, the hem is one way, the top part, you're pretty much hemming it upside down. But since it flips over, this finished hem is now seen on the top. Let me take this off so I can show you these two buttons. So you have the button strap on one side, and on the other you have a button on the outside, and then you have a button on the inside. And so this button on the inside, this goes across your stomach. This gets buttoned there so that it stays closed, and then this gets buttoned to the outside. So if you got to this part of the video, thank you so much for your support. I hope you're a subscriber. If not, please like and subscribe. Leave a comment. I love reading the little comments that I get, and I try to respond to all of them. Until the next video, happy sewing.